So this is a basketball comedy that stars a bunch of old-ass NBA or former NBA players and also a few current ones. One of them is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, of course, is the title character of Uncle Drew. It's funny to think that this all started from a couple of commercials that came out a few years ago. Kyrie Irving was in a couple of commercials and the persona, the character of Uncle Drew, was created for the commercials, and now fast forward a couple of years, it's 2018, and now he has a movie. But just imagine if he did a commercial about turd blossoms or something, right? So like I said, this film stars a host of former basketball players and current basketball players: Kyrie Irving, Chris Webber, Lisa Leslie, Shaquille O'Neal, Reggie Miller, Aaron Gordon. It also stars Rel Howery. It also stars Tiffany Haddish. So Lil Rel Howery is a coach who has invested a lot of money in this tournament that takes place in Rucker Park. Unfortunately, his best player and then pretty much his entire team get taken away from him by a rival. So then he has to try to go out and recruit other players to compete in this tournament, and he stumbles across Uncle Drew while he's out recruiting. Uncle Drew is the greatest blacktop street baller of all time. So once he gets recruited, he tries to recruit his older teammates. That's it. You've got a team full of older guys and they're going up against a team full of younger guys, and it's old versus new. You pretty much know how the rest of the story goes from there. Anybody that knows me knows I am a huge basketball fan. I've been a basketball fan for my entire life. As a basketball fan, I took one look at this trailer and I was just like, okay, this is either going to be so dumb that it's funny, or it's going to be a flaming pile of Kwame Brown. By the way, that's the basketball terminology for garbage, people. It's kind of weird walking out of the movie to see that the film somehow subverted my low expectations for it, while at the same time meeting them in some aspects. I'll get into all the stuff that makes this a bad movie in a bit, but first, let's talk about the shit that I actually did like about the movie. You guys remember the funny-ass nigga from Get Out, the TSA agent? Yeah, Lil Rel Howery played him in that movie, and in this movie, he's kind of the funniest thing about this one. Put into a lot of hilariously awkward situations with older people, and it's kind of funny the way he reacts to it all. This movie does have a couple of cool and one street ball type moves and basketball action, so if you're into that kind of thing, you might enjoy some of that. I mean, it's not NBA Street Volume 1 or 2 or anything, but I'm just saying they did their best. This movie is at its best when it has a sense of self-awareness. You know what I mean? Where it feels like it's winking to the audience and it's kind of like, hey, we know that this shit is stupid, but we're hoping that you roll with it anyway and you have fun. The movie has a couple of instances of humor where it's written in a way where it busts the fourth wall. It has a bunch of cool references that I think if you're a basketball fan, you're going to get a kick out of. In a movie like this, it'd be easy for the director and the actors and everybody involved with this project to just not give a shit about it, but it's clear, judging by the way that they went at this movie, that there was some effort put in, so I'd give them at least a B+ for that. Man, if only you could judge a movie based off of the effort that they put into it, because woo, this movie would pass with flying colors. As it stands, when it comes to filmmaking, it's not just about the effort, it's about the execution, and that's where this movie's kind of a forgettable mess. The humor in the movie is very hit or miss. Like I said, the movie is at its funniest when it's being self-aware. When it's not and it's just trying to do its own thing and create its own jokes, that doesn't necessarily work out for the best. A large portion of the humor in this movie is built off of the concept of older basketball players going up against new basketball players. Probably sometime around the second act, the whole "you're old and it's funny because you're old," that started to get old, no pun intended. But you know that thing in the front part of your brain that allows you to function as a human being? Before you walk into the theater, you need to just reach inside your head and just turn that bitch off. Like, turn it all off. I'm saying you need to have a full system shutdown of your mind. I mean, you need to turn off the emergency systems, you need to turn off the backup generator, turn it all off, turn everything off, because this movie is littered with so many inexcusably dumb and corny and cringy ass moments that if you don't have those areas of your brain turned off, then I feel like you might walk out of this thing hating it. So the characters are kind of thin. The acting is definitely a little bit too over the top for this movie. I get what they were going for, but some of the act, as in some of the basketball players that are trying to act, they ham it up a little bit too much. And then from a narrative perspective, the movie's kind of flowing along at a decent pace, and then it just feels like a bunch of random scenes are thrown into the movie with no real rhyme or reason or structure to them. I thought this movie was going to be a gigantic flaming turd. As it stands, it's not flaming, at least. Kids are going to like this movie. I think that some basketball fans are going to appreciate this movie, and overall, I think the movie does have some fun moments, but that doesn't make it a good movie, people. This is one of those it's so bad that it's funny and good movies, and I'm going to give it the guilty pleasure rating of Smallville. Like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.